Greetings, I am Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, with more Pillar Loves tabletop games. Today with Robo Rally. This is the more recent edition by Renegade Game Studios, but it is ultimately a game by Richard Garfield. If the name rings a bell, you've played Magic the Gathering. So apparently this is the game he was trying to get published, and part of that process was making Magic. But I think this is a solid game. But the goal of the game is to program your robots with various cards to move them, turn them around towards reaching the checkpoints in numerical order first. And there'll be interactions between the robots and the elements of the board in the process. As part of the setup for the game, you'll determine what course you want to play with, and you'll use the map tiles that are double-sided, and they'll have various elements on them. There will also be the docking bay that's also double-sided. It will have certain cubes covering up spaces that players cannot start on. But once players have their starting space, they will start with 3 energy and 3 upgrade cards to choose from. And there will be a priority player, youngest or a random if that doesn't work with your play group. But then these are cleared. So the first thing you do for the round is the upgrade phase. You can spend an energy to draw a new card from the upgrade deck. It is uninstalled, as in your hand. You can only do it once per round. Secondly, you may install one of your upgrades. There are temporary upgrades. There are permanent upgrades. To install one, you'll need to spend energy that you've gathered. You're limited to 3 permanent and 3 temporary. So for Deflector Shield, for example, when you would take damage from lasers or other weapons, you can pay 1 energy to take no damage during the register. So dropping that this early, probably not the wisest of ideas. I mean, I'm going to need to build energy back up instead. I might just hold off on that. Finally, you can uninstall any number of upgrades, but they're discarded. Once players have figured out their upgrades, it goes to programming. You will draw up to 9 cards. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Normally your hand will be empty. However, damage may cause cards to be in your hand that are not very helpful. And then you'll have to figure out what you're going to do on your turn. So, we've got some move, some rotate, some power up, move 2, 3, move back. How things will happen will be starting with a priority player, and then going clockwise. The register 1 cards will activate, then the board elements will activate, and then register 2, and then the elements will activate again, and so on until all 5 cards are done. So you'll have to figure out how you're going to try to get to the first checkpoint and try to plan accordingly. So let's say I plan to move 2 straight ahead as part of the first register. That will get me onto the conveyor belt, which will activate at the end of the round and push me forward 1. And then let's say I'm imagining I'm still going to be here. I'm going to try to do another move 2. And this conveyor belt will move me 2. So now I gotta figure out how to get from there towards the next obstacle before getting hit by lasers. And so on and so forth. If you find people might be taking too long with the planning, you can try to implement a timer system where anything they don't have programmed will just be done at random out of whatever cards they have left. But then everyone will have their program and figure it out, and then we'll go to the activation phase. So let's say there's those. There's those. Was that one? There's that one. So, hey, look, so our program will be out. Let's figure out what this. Let's just do something random for demonstration purposes, because I'm don't have all day to figure this out. All right. So starting with priority player, everyone will reveal once things start kicking off. It's too late to change anything. Don't let anyone cheat. So they'll move 2, they'll move 1, and then all the elements will activate. Elements activation. Blue conveyor belts will convey 2. It's possible to be moved off the belt, in which case you're done moving. If there's ever, like, let's say this was a blank space, and there was another robot there, and you were going to be pushed into it, you don't get moved. Another thing that happens is the turning. So if you move onto here with this, when you get moved into this, you'll turn with it. Push panels are not on this, but you'll know them because they'll have like either odd numbers or even numbers, and they will push. Like, let's say there's one here, they'd push that robot away from it. It's possible to have multiple robots lined up with a push panel and push them all together. Also, as a side note, robots can push each other. The only thing that stops pushing from that is going to be a wall. Gears. The gears will activate. You'll turn 90 degrees one way or the other. Lasers. Every laser will go off, and that robot will take damage from the damage deck. We'll go over damage in a sec. Robot weapon activation. If there's a robot straight in front of you, it's taking 1 damage. It is stopped by walls, however. And it only affects the first robot. So even if there's a whole line of them, they're only going to hit the first one. And finally, batteries. If you got a robot occupying a battery, you gain an energy to a maximum of 10. Haven't occupied there yet. And then finally, checkpoints. If you reach the checkpoint and it's the next one you need, you go up one. So let's say I made it all the way over here. We're now at the 1 point. Now I can make my way over to the 2 point. And that's the last one I needed. That's the end of the game. Victory. Other things that can happen as well. Pushing into pits or off the board basically kills your robot, but you can reboot. This game is merciful in that there's no lives limit that the previous version, the Avalon Hill version, had. So all that stuff will happen. That moves, all that. And then we'll go through the rest of the actions. And once that's done, the player holding the priority token will pass it to their left. I forgot what that was. All the face-up damage cards in your registers will go to the damage discard pile. Any regular programming cards go to your discard. Leave all face-down cards in the registers. And then return to the upgrade phase. So let's go over damage. When you take damage, you take it one card at a time. It might come up, if it comes up spam, it will go into your, either immediately into your hand or into your discard. I forget which exactly. It goes to your discard pile. So, it took damage. That's going to go there. And now, when this ends up in my hand later, it affects my draw limit. You only get to discard the remaining programming cards that are not damage. So these are going to clog up your hand until you actually play them. When you resolve them during that register, this will go to the damage discard and you'll get a random card. It could be good, it could be bad. Who knows what happens. The other kind of damage card that comes up is Haywire. If you see it, it goes into the register face down, and it stays there until your next turn. And you're free to look at it, of course. That's part of your plan, but it's going to be stuck there. If you're taking multiple damage, and it's multiple Haywire cards, you'll discard the extra Haywire. But this, for example, is move 1. Robot's main laser deals 1 additional damage. It could help, it could hurt. It'll be absolute chaos. But when it gets resolved, it's one less card to deal with, to worry about. But if you can make use of it, then by all means. Other things that can happen. You might have a whole lot of spam cards in your hand. Probably your deck. After you've laid out your cards, once everyone's done programming, but before the first player goes, you can declare shutdown. You immediately shut down for the round. You reveal all your cards in the registers. All that damage cards in your register's hand and discard pile go into the damage discard pile. And then all regular programming cards will go into your discard pile along with your hand. So there's one way of dealing with it. You remain on the race course. So you're going to you're at risk of taking some damage. You can shut down on a conveyor belt and just let it push you around. Just take advantage of that momentum. And then next turn you'll be able to continue as normal. You cannot collect energy or reach a checkpoint while you're shut down. And then there's also rebooting. If you get pushed down a pit or off the course, what'll happen is, let's say I got stuck on this and it fell off. And well, what you'll do is remove your robot from the board and place it next to your mat. Whether you resolved your card from the register or not, your programming is canceled for the rest of the round. All programming cards are discarded. Cards in your hand are also discarded. If you had spam cards, they go to your discard. Haywire cards, however, go to the damage discard instead. And then you will draw 2 damage cards. If you draw spam, it'll go to your discard. Like normal, if you draw Haywire, it goes into your current slot. All your upgrades remain in place, even the ones you have not yet installed. If you draw a second Haywire card as part of the damage, you ignore it. But it'll... Yeah, you'll have to adjust to that situation. If you had a lot of Haywire, and it was really going to just be absolute chaos, using your first register card to just go into a pit or off the board might be a better option. When you re-enter play, you'll program your registers. You won't be on the board yet. You'll choose the direction your robot faces. When your priority comes up, you'll start on the reboot token. If you fell off the docking bay, of all things, you'll start on your archive instead. If the space is occupied by someone else, what you'll do is push them in the direction of the arrow on the reboot token. Or on the archive. And then place your own robot facing the direction you want to. And you'll proceed from there. Alright. Yep. That's pretty much it. You'll program, you'll make use of your upgrades, you'll have to deal with the damage, you'll have to deal with the absolute chaos of the board. And then there's like a ton of different courses and stuff to try out. There are expansions to add more course boards as well, and variant rules, and rules for designing your own courses. Why do I love this game? Because it's absolute chaos. And it's fun, though. There's that programming aspect, but you have to adapt to what the cards give you. This version is comparatively more merciful than the Avalon Hill version, because in that one, the priority was based on the actual card. And everyone drew from a shared deck. This one cuts it down to starts with a priority token, and then you have your own deck of cards, which I think is better. The energy upgrade system is a little bit better than the way they did it last time as well. But this is just the kind of fun, kind of crazy game that we need to have more of for our Tuesday nights. Don't get me wrong, the point salad Euro game is all well and good, but this is the kind of silly craziness that I just fucking love, man. Alright. Thanks very much for watching. Check out Robo Rally, hopefully on a game store shelf near you recently. Alright. I'll see you next time.